This recording has never been explained. It is an unidentified animal, it sounds huge, it sounds deranged, and it is terrifying. Here's the true story, and I'll play the audio clip at the end. In 1971, Ron Moorhead and two of his friends went to a campsite in Sierra Nevada. The reason they were going out there is because on an earlier trip, when night fell, they heard a very strange sound. It started off as a very loud whooping sound, and as the men ran to hide in their campsite, the creatures ran to the edge of the campsite and started speaking in a nonsensical human language. Ron had become absolutely and utterly obsessed with figuring out what they had run into, because it was something that they had never heard before, and it was absolutely terrifying. Ron grabbed an audio recorder, the men packed up and headed back to the campsite. This is the campsite. There is not a lot of protection here, so let's just say this was an extremely experience. That night, the men heard the same whooping sound, so Ron turned on his audio recorder, and this is what he captured. This audio is real and verified. This was in 1971, and it's been studied by audio engineers. It has not been tampered with. Listen.
Right there, just see movement right through there. That's our job. Now we know where we want to protect someone for sure.
Filmed in Georgia, it is an uncut, unedited investigation of a haunted house. I'm of course only going to show you guys the good parts, so let's watch a clip.
And it's locked. Why would they want somebody to enter?
So the ghost hunters hear three bangs, they turn around, and there are three chairs that have flown on top of this table and stacked on top of each other.
Within like the snap of a fingers, and chairs have moved from one position to another, completely rearranged. And yeah, same. We had never seen anything of this nature.
This is just the beginning though, because things get much worse. They put the chairs back in place. Then there is a bang upstairs. Watch what happens next.
We have never encountered some shit like that. You should see that. Hello?
We're standing in the kitchen. I'm like right in front of the little bar area, and I hear this massive pound.
Oh my God. How?
What? What the f? I literally just walked from the kitchen. I was looking in the kitchen right when I came up these stairs behind.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure what to make of this video, because catching something like that on camera with so much power is basically unheard of. Let me know what y'all think. Is this channel messing with us? I don't think they are. All their videos seem legit. They go to real known haunted places. So if this is fake, man, but
EVP sound. Oh my God!
Today I've compiled some amazing clips from Kent.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
The reason this video scares me so deeply is because of how the apparition looks. Looks like a human, and Kent would say he thought someone broke into his house. Not only that, but the way it moves and flings itself across the room, taking the curtain with it.
What the hell is that noise? Son of a bitch!
Every time Kent turns the corner in the upstairs bedroom, there is always an apparition standing in his face.
Traffic slows down. Can you say anything? What the hell? Who threw the horse? Yeah, I see you. No!
Not only are these apparitions continually throwing themselves in his face, but they always whisper. Kent captures so many clear as day EVPs. He doesn't even have to enhance the audio, you can hear it. Here, I'll show you some. That is not Kent saying he's back. And this happens every day. I'll show you some more. Whatever these things are, they are always saying, help me. They're always saying, Kent. And they always say, just disturbing things. Now remember, the channel is Ghosts of Carolyn, Maine. It is Kent's channel. He has amazing footage. If you guys want to go check him out, go check him out. And if you want me to make more videos about him, I'll scrape through the footage and I will find the coolest things I can find and make more montages.
Turn around.
This is a classic and terrifying video. To start, we have two little girls and they are playing on their little table.
What?
The little girl is sensing some sort of presence at the back of the room. She keeps turning to her mom and she's like, Mom, and her mom's like, I just turned off the lights, there's nothing wrong. And there is nothing there. And her sister just keeps playing, completely unaware of what's about to happen.
What are you doing, honey? Look at me. What are you scared of? The fish? Oh, the fish died.
So now her sister is teasing her. And not only that, but after the little girl points to the room, her mom notices that their fish died. So things are getting a little bit weirder.
It's raining, girls. Honey, are you almost done eating?
At this point, she cannot handle it anymore and she just runs to her mom for support. And as the negative presence builds, watch what happens.
Turn around. But you gotta listen to me. Turn around. Look at me. What's the matter?
So finally, her sister catches on. She turns around, and as she is looking, she starts to feel the presence. That is what is so terrifying about this video, is because it is something you cannot see, but something that you can feel. And as you watch this video and you hear that scream, it gives you goosebumps. Oh, by the way, at the end of the video, you can definitely tell that the mom is scared too. She's trying to hold it in, but I think you can hear her start to panic. I mean, if I was a parent, I would try my best to keep my cool, but yeah, it'd be really hard in that situation. You can feel what the kids are feeling, and something is there, it is invisible, you cannot punch it in the face, so there is nothing you can do. Today we are going to look at the story of Brian Melvin. He died in 1980 and he has a terrifying story. By the way, I don't want this to scare any of you guys, as it has kind of scared me. Just know, just be good humans and I think things will be fine. But anyways, okay, let's get into it.
One of the guys brought some water from Mexico that was contaminated. I ended up drinking it by accident. Got real sick, contracted cholera.
So, Brian drank water from Mexico, which can be extremely dangerous. It happened to my dad once, and he has arthritis because he got so sick, it just completely messed up his immune system. But anyways, very soon after he drank the water, after laying on the floor and passing away, this is the first thing he noticed.
I hovered over my body, looking down at myself and looking around, and next thing I knew, I went through the ceiling of the room I was in, transported into a very, very, very black, dark void.
So right now he has no idea what the hell is going on, but that's when this entity starts to explain things to him.
I could hear like somebody speaking to me, like telepathy, and it was explaining to me many, many things that I no longer remember. It was explaining to you the whys of life. Why there was evil in the world. Why this? Why, people have questions all the time. These were being answered to you as you were being transported to this light. And time you got to where the light was, you knew what happened, you know what's going on, you know you died, you know you're going to be judged. As you're traveling, it's made so clear to you that what's happening is perfectly just and right.
At this point, he is fully aware of what is going on, and God is about to speak to him. And God is about to send him to see something that should be left unseen.
And there was a love and compassion too, but also a firmness and fairness. Look what you have done with God's gift. If I let you into heaven with what you know now, you would misuse that and keep sin alive in heaven. You can't come in. He told me it was granted to me to see a land unknown that's best forgotten, but will not be left unseen. That was it. And I went through that door into a void. A tornado vortex. It was just going round and round. It was a tunnel, roaring and roaring and spinning and spinning and spinning. And it smelled horrible. I could hear these screeches and noises and sirens. The most thing I remember the most was slurping noises and screams, and I could feel heat, really hot heat.
Now the nightmare truly begins. I want you guys to listen to this next part because it is horrifying.
All these people ran out, and some of them looked like people that were dead that I knew, and other people I knew that were not dead. And they come around me, slapping me on the back, but something just wasn't quite right with them because they looked weird. They had yellow glints in their eye, and their eyes were almost reptile-like. I looked over and I saw what looked like my best friend turn into somebody else. And I said, hey, wait a minute, you can't do that. You're not who you say you are. Who are you? And then all of a sudden I looked around and I go, all these people around me are not people. They began to morph into what they were. They were ugliest creatures I've ever seen. Reptile-like, some of them, they were just god-awful, like rotting vegetables, and they were distorted and twisted, and filthy, smelly creatures. And they were just starting to come at me like they're going to shred me to pieces. This one that looked like my best friend earlier, who morphed into different people, came up to me, looked like a sort of half dinosaur, a reptilian type creature, and it was hissing and spitting at me and speaking in language that I didn't know what it was saying at first. I was telling, and it was broken in English, it was telling me to come, follow it, follow it, follow it.
So the creatures start revealing their true forms to him, which are completely disgusting, horrifying, distorted, and twisted mixtures of creatures and vegetables. It is just absolutely horrifying, the monstrosities that he encountered. When you think of accurate demons and what they're supposed to be like, I have a picture of one here. It is horrifying. When you think of a demon or a monster, you think of one type of entity, like a creature with horns or whatever. But the true horror comes in the mixed and distorted and twisted creatures like this, with pure evil intention. And now that the creatures have him, they want to show him around his new home. So he is brought to a place called the Pit that is filled with cubes for as far as the eye can see. These cubes are 10 by 10 foot, and each cube is assigned to a soul for a unique torture.
And each person that was in their cube was like they were reliving parts of their life all over again, and not in a very pleasant way. It's like a living nightmare. I realized that hell is just an enormous big place, and there's many other parts to hell that I did not see. I just saw this place called the Pit. It's been granted to thee, follow me out to the middle of the road. So we walked out in the middle of the road, and all these demons and creatures running around, and I saw all these people in various stages of torment. Some of these demon creatures inside these cubes were going in at will, and they would be attacking people in various ways. But to the people, they look like other people, or times in their lives, or they look like demons. Whatever their worst nightmare was basically what they were living. The cube looked inside of another individual that was there, and it reminded me of an old sailing ship. This guy used to be a captain of the ship, and he was being flogged. Things that he did on this old sailing ship, and it was being meted back to him. I noticed this being, this creature looking at me. It was in a cube at first. It was of a beautiful purplish color, in a way, kind of a beautiful creature, but hideous at the same time. Its face is revolving around very seductive, very flattering, very persuasive. It would try to plant thoughts in your mind, trying to tell you, why would such a good God allow people to suffer like this? It was trying to get me to curse God. That would just in a car wreck came through, and she was deposited right there. And inside her cube, she saw it as the illusion of her grandmother's farm, that her grandparents' farm that she loved so well as when she was growing up. Her grandmother recently passed away too, so she got in this cube, and immediately she thought she was in heaven because there was a grandmother waiting there welcoming her. The grandmother that was actually a demon that gave the illusion of being the grandmother said, "Dear Pudding, you made it to heaven. I'm so glad you're here." And she really thought that she was in paradise. But there was a darker side to her. So as she sat down, I was watching it, and the trees' limbs just grabbed her. And then she realized she was not in paradise. And as we passed some cubes, there were people inside, and they were trapped in flames. And it was like their skin was still intact, but they were burning. And he was playing pool. And this guy was a child serial killer, but he lived in the 1940s. And these people in there would torment him and come and run and just grab him and tear him up. And out of the sky, I could see this big demon coming down. It reminds me of a snake. He just gobbled him and swallowed him. Then all the other little demons came up and said, that's no fair. We didn't have our chance with him yet. Regurgitated him back up. He was whole. I know this sounds really bizarre, but that's what happened. Then all the other little demons, little teeny things, about 3 foot tall, just jumped on him. And he was powerless. And they were beating and clawing him. And there was no rest for this guy whatsoever after that. It was constant torment. Everything that he ever done was being justly put back to him. He was dressed in fine garb. She was a temple prostitute. Their religion was some strange thing. When you have a newborn son, you can offer it into a statue, and there's flames underneath the statue. You put the baby on the statue. And here she is in this temple. There was no let up to her torment. And it was almost like all the little babies that she burned that were hers and other people's were tormenting her, mocking her, pouncing on her, just crawling and tearing her up. And she just screamed, and I had to turn away and walk. There was an individual that she practiced the black dark craft. She was a witch. I just knew that she was a witch, but she died many hundreds of years ago. But she was trapped in a coffin, scratching, trying to get out. She couldn't get out. She was in that position for years and years and years and years, hundreds of years. And then finally, when she got it open, all the demons would pounce on her.
This episode goes on for much longer and gets much more graphic, but we're at the 10-minute mark, so I'm going to stop it here. If you guys want me to make part 2, let me know. I can post it tomorrow. At the end of this episode, by the way, he starts crying too. The story gets pretty intense, and yeah, you can tell that this genuinely happened to him, so take from it what you will. And yeah, just a reminder to be a good human. I hope this doesn't freak you guys out. By the way, I don't want to push any beliefs on anyone, but this is just a really interesting story, and I really wanted to cover it. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. So as we know, Kent has had a very rough childhood, and in his adult years, he has dedicated his life to investigating the ghosts that haunt him. Kent has made some amazing connections and has figured out who some of these ghosts are. Fill you guys in, we're going to start where he lived at this group home here in junior high after his parents abandoned him. Listen to what he has to say about this place.
When I walked through the door, I felt sorrows of death, like someone close to me just died. Before coming to this house, I was happy, but every hour that went by, the fear grew stronger. I knew something really bad is about to happen. For the next 9 months, my life will plunge into the darkest pits of pure hell. Events will take place that almost took my sanity.
Ken had some very terrifying moments at the group home. Listen to this reoccurring nightmare.
I'm standing in an old rundown Victorian mansion. In this nightmare, I experience powerful deja vu. I have a full understanding what's going on. Although all the memories of this mansion were there, I've never been here before in any prior dream. There was a horrible smell of decomposing fish. Every smell, every color, and what I felt was so vivid, this was beyond anything I have ever experienced before. I knew a demonic entity stays in the attic. It poses as an old woman, but in reality, this is a spirit of murder. This entity thrives on tormented forms of death. It sleeps on a filthy bed, but the moment I appear in this mansion, it woke up, and it was coming for me. I could hear terrifying cries and moans coming from under the floor just below my feet where I was standing. These were the souls this entity slaughtered, and it wants to kill me and collect my soul. I see it come out of a dark room. I run as fast as I can, but moving slow. As I'm going from room to room, each room has skeletal remains on the floor. In other rooms, the bodies on the floor in a state of decomposition. This spirit is extremely angry. I can hear its voice behind me. It sounded like someone vomiting and talking at the same time. I run into another room. On the floor was a female who had just died. Large amounts of blood came from her head. A faint voice comes from her mouth. She says, "I'm dead." I wake up to one of the foster brothers shaking me. He said I was moaning really loud, and it looked like I was having convulsions. While he's talking, I hear a disembodied voice of a female clearly say, "I'm dead." We both look at each other. He also heard the voice.
As you heard Kent mention, there was a girl laying on the floor in his dream. He would later come to know that this girl was his friend Debbie. Let me fill you in on their relationship. Debbie and Kent met in junior high and quickly grew fond of each other. They didn't get to hang out much though because Debbie's parents were pretty mean and they basically only got to talk over the phone. But when they got to see each other, they loved it, and one time Debbie kissed Kent on the lips. So Debbie was 100% a point of light in Kent's life, and him having this dream and all these disturbing experiences definitely bothered him. Unfortunately, tragedy struck.
When he tells me what happened, I completely blacked out. Police receive a call from a woman who did not identify herself and says, "I just shot my family." She gives the address to the home and hangs up. When police arrive to the home, they find the woman laying in the kitchen with a gun wound to the head. I was totally devastated over Debbie's murder. The circumstances behind it were very dark. The big question was, why?
At this point, it becomes very apparent to Kent that an evil force is affecting him and everyone around him. Now, with what we know about Debbie, we can come to the present day with Kent's paranormal investigations. Because these spirits follow him, they talk to him, and he has so much crazy footage. This is just a very tragic story, and I put Kent's channel at the beginning of the video, so make sure you subscribe to him, show him some love, and show him some support, because Kent is a really genuine guy, and he really wants to help these spirits. That is his life mission. He doesn't monetize his videos or anything. He is just a genuine dude. So now we come to present day at the Lamb House, where he currently lives and runs his investigations.
You know that there is something in the house. You can just feel it.
The very first time I stepped into the Lamb House, I got a very disturbing feeling. A feeling like I've been here before. Memories from my past started coming back to me.
Now next, I've included a montage of all the times that Debbie has spoken to him. At least we think it's Debbie. She says her name is Debbie, and she always reminds him that she is here.
What the hell is that noise? Whoa. What? What'd you say? I just heard your voice say my name. Who are you? Your voice sounds familiar. Who said my name just now? What about Debbie? Debbie, I hope you let go. I hope you go on into peace. You need to let go. Debbie, was that you? Debbie, was that you? Debbie?
I'm gonna leave you guys with this clip from Kent. All my respect and love goes out to him and his family.
My brother Mike also attended Coronado High School, the same high school Debbie attended. Debbie and Mike were in the same grade. The day I found out Debbie was murdered, that night I called Mike. I asked Mike if he knew who was murdered. He said some girl from school named Deborah. The news called her Deborah, but everyone knew her as Debbie. That's what she went by. The day I ran into Debbie walking her dog, I told Mike and Daryl about this, how she likes me and kissed me. When Mike understood this was Debbie that was murdered, he told me something about her that made me feel even worse about her death. Mike said while in 10th grade, every so often Debbie would stop him in the halls to ask him how I was doing. Debbie knew Mike as my brother. Mike tells me Debbie would give him messages to tell me hi, and she missed me. But Mike never gave me any of those messages. Mike said she wasn't really popular in school. When he saw her in the halls or during lunch, most of the time she was alone. Before Debbie was murdered, during one of our phone conversations, she tells me she didn't have many friends. A lot of times she would feel alone. The last time we talked, Debbie told me she was happy I came into her life again. When I went to Debbie's house the day after the murder, is it possible she followed me? And has she been attached to me since? Did the high-energy portals in the Lamb House give Debbie the ability to reveal herself to me? Outside of the encounters with Rachel, since the very beginning of these investigations, the name Debbie has come up. Many times a female voice said, "I'm here, Kent." And a voice that wasn't Rachel's would say, "I love you." I kept these encounters private over the years. This was too personal. And what took place between 1965 to 1987, these events were not relevant to the investigations that took place in the Lamb House, at least not until now. So why bring this up all now? Over the past year, spirits have been bringing up numbers that are related to supernatural events that's taken place. All of the events that took place in my life since 1965, these numbers come up over and over again. And these numbers confirm the supernatural events that take place in the Lamb House are no accident.
Do not try to crawl inside of a chimney. In 2020, a boy named Harley went to his parents' vacation home. When he arrived, he realized that the front door is locked, so he needed to find another way to get inside. So he scaled the house, climbing up on top of the roof. He walked over to the chimney, took the cap off, and went feet first inside. Once inside of the chimney, Harley quickly realized the space is much tighter than he had imagined. As he began to slide down, the chimney began to squeeze his body. His arms are trapped at his side, and his chest is being squeezed so tightly that it's hard to breathe. Realizing that there is absolutely no way that he can climb back up and out, he slid deeper and deeper until he couldn't go any farther. Finally, he would become completely lodged and stuck in a 13 by 9 inch space. At this point, there was absolutely nothing that he could do. His arms are trapped at his sides, so he can't use them to climb, and his chest is being squeezed so tightly that he can barely breathe. Harley was declared missing, and it wasn't until 1 month later that they found him. He had unfortunately passed away, and his death was ruled as compressive asphyxia. This means that his chest was squeezed so tight that he eventually suffocated.